Let's get quirky. Let's get quirky. What is up, man? You are on Let's Get Quirky Live. My name is James Thorne, and I am Chief People Officer here at Quirk Advertising, and I'm glad you're joining us today. Man, it's been a lot of fun. We're actually on episode 13, so we didn't start this but, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, and we're already on episode 13. What? So, why are we doing this? What is this? Let's Get Quirky Live. Maybe it's your first time jumping on. Well, the reason we started this because I am always one, this is my life motto, I'm always one person away from changing the course of my future. So we've got to find ways to connect with each other. And once Rona struck, then we were all at home and I had to find a new way to connect with people. So we decided to start a live stream. My entire life up to this point, with the businesses I've been a part of, even starting Quirk Advertising, the people who have been on the team, the relationships I've built that have shifted what I've done and where I've been and where I've gone have all been from great relationships. But I had to meet as many people as possible to make that happen. And now we're like, great, let's just do this online as well and make this a weekly thing where we bring on people that I have relationships with, I'm getting to meet, or even meet for the first time so that we can all interact with each other, figure out, hey, does God have something to put us together and change the course of our future, or maybe we can learn a little bit from each other. So that's why we're doing this. Let's Get Quirky live stream every Thursday. So you can join us online. Let's see if I can switch over. Well, actually, I don't have the time on there. Every Thursday, 3 p.m. Central Time, jumping on the live stream. So that's why we're doing it. And there's actually only about a 20-second delay. We've updated our equipment. So there's about a 20-second delay. So if you leave something, please drop it in the comments. I see this. Chris Rivera, I'm glad you're good. See, I see your comments. So if you have any questions or comments throughout the entire live stream, leave them on the comment and I will make sure to get to them at some point, or make sure our guest or myself gets to the questions so that we can answer them, because that's why we're doing it live. We want to be able to interact with you while we're here. But hey, some of you guys don't have time to catch it live. I understand. We live in a world of binge and a world of let's me catch it later in my own free time. So if you're just joining us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you get notified every time we drop a new video. But if you're on it live right now and you don't know about the YouTube channel, you can jump on later. Just go to letsgetquirky.live and you can see our YouTube channel, subscribe, and make sure you're catching this when it drops after every week. So man, this has been a lot of fun and I'm excited because I get to bring another guest, which means they get to talk, I get to ask the questions, and I get to hear more about them, hear about how we can learn from each other. So this week, episode 13 is called Living with the Incredibles. What does that mean? We're gonna find out here in a second, but let's see if I can switch over and do a little introduction like I've been doing with everyone else. He would describe himself first and foremost a dad to 2 great kids and a husband to an incredible wife. He's a gifted designer, illustrator, and just an all-around talented creator. He loves coming up with new ideas and seeing other people use their gifts to create as well. He is currently the owner and creative designer of LivingStone Creative. He is also lead designer here with us at Quirk Advertising. And he's also recently co-authored and illustrated his first book. So I'm proud to welcome my friend, Drew Rodgers. What's up, Drew?
What's happening? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for jumping on with us, bro.
Of course. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I see you are decked out in baseball right now. So tell me what that's about.
Man, I am a baseball fan, and I've got kind of, we're going to talk about this book, but I've got other side projects called Keep Baseball Great. And so doing a podcast over there. So I got a cool background here. I figured, hey, why not use it for this too? So.
No, that's awesome. I really like that. So Keep Baseball Great again. That's, you love baseball. You've got an outlet there. I know there's a website too, so we can plug that.
Yeah.
What's the website domain so we can know?
Yeah, keepbaseballgreat.com.
Nice and simple.
Easy.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Drew. Like your background. I know you're a designer. I think you're an incredible designer. I know you would say different about yourself because you're not going to be, you're humble. But tell us a little about your background, how you've gotten to this point in design, and what's led to your company.
Yeah, man. We'll dive in a little more detailed, but high level. Just grew up loving to draw and design, and kind of always wanted to do that. And so, out of college, I actually got to design for a t-shirt company. So that was a lot of fun. But then I've always just had freelance design projects from web design, print design, and even getting back into illustration now after kind of getting away from it. But that's kind of how I've been doing it. Been doing it for a long time for a lot of different companies. So I've been privileged to kind of have my hand in a lot of different businesses and different types of designs. It's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. And the company again, LivingStone Creative.
LivingStone Creative. Yep.
Tell me
Yep.
about the name. Where'd you come up with that?
Yeah, so it's actually First Peter 2, 4, and 5. It just kind of talks about living stones, and the picture it gave me of just something like a stone that's kind of just sits there. It's kind of dead and it doesn't do anything, but kind of the life that God kind of gives us through that. And so I feel like I do that a lot of times with design. Take something that doesn't look great, but then be able to design and communicate through that. So that's kind of where the name came from.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And Drew's actually our lead designer here at Quirk Advertising. He's with all his many talents, he gives up some of his time and he's able to design what I would say our most proud pieces. It definitely has his hand on it. So, man, I appreciate you helping us out, bro.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun, especially with a name like Quirk. How could I deny that?
That's awesome. Cool. So today we're definitely going to be talking about this book. So go ahead and you introduce what's the title of the book. Tell me just about what the book is.
Yeah, so it's called A Superhero Tucks Me In at Night, and yeah, it's a kid's book, and so it's a super easy read. I am a simple person, so it's definitely on my level. But so easy words.
Oh, what up? Hold up, y'all! Giveaway time! All right, we're gonna give away this book. So before we get into any details, I had to interrupt because that's what we do. Because if you jump on live, then I like to give away things. If you got to know me at all, I love to give away things. So let's just give away the book right now, and then we'll get to talk about it. So if you want this book, A Superhero Tucks Me In at Night, drop in superhero. Whoa, it's another one. Oh no, I knew I'd do that. If you want the superhero tucks me in at night, here I'll switch over. Actually, we might be able to do like a little. Let's see if this works. Boom, boom, boom. Ooh, it's right in the middle. Check that out. A superhero tucks me in at night. If you want this book, drop in superhero in the comments. First one to do it in the next 20 seconds. First one to do it gets the book for free. Superhero in the comments, and I'll catch you later with the book. Make sure I can get it to you in your hands. It's awesome. I've read it already several times with my boys, and of course we have to talk about it. I don't want to spoiler alert, but all right. So let's see if we can switch back over here. All right, cool. Sorry to interrupt, Drew. I know you had something you were sharing
Very
about the book.
important.
What?
Yeah.
So
We all need interruptions like that in our life. That is for sure.
Hey, hold on, Kelly Garrett, winner, superhero, Kelly.
Yes. Way to go, Kelly.
So you're getting the book. We're gonna send it to you. I'll catch you after. Don't worry. I'll catch you later. We'll get your address, send you the book. Awesome. Way to go. So okay, I know I interrupted you. Tell me about the book. And you illustrated it. You wrote it. Have you always wanted to do this? Like, tell me about the book.
Yeah. So superhero tucks me in at night. I kind of going back to where design came from. I have always, like I said, loved to draw. So as a kid, I designed the next Air Jordans. I designed my own like comic books out of just paper, and so just just creating in general has always been a real passion and something I love to do. And so obviously that, getting into kids books didn't pop into my head until I actually had kids, and kind of, you see the joy, and then you start reading your own books and thinking, man, this is a lot of fun reading them to kids. And so that's kind of where I kind of was like, okay, I think I can probably do this. And so that's kind of where it came from or why I did it. But creating the actual idea of just creating something was really inspiring for me.
That's cool. And how recently did you come out with the book?
So I launched it. It was probably February, right before the Corona.
Right before Rona hit, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
BC,
cool.
before Corona. Yeah.
So, how did you come up with the idea of the book?
Yeah, so like I said, being a dad, James, you're a dad, right?
I am two little ones. I got a 5 and a
Man,
3-year-old, so I'm just getting
yeah.
going.
So, I mean, haven't you ever at the end of the day just sat down on the couch and was like, I do not know what I am doing in this whole parenting thing?
You say ever, like that's every day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's really where this idea came from. You just, at the end of the day, sometimes you just feel like, I don't know really what I'm doing, but, and then before the kids go to bed, they come up, tell you they love you, and then your life is all good, right?
Right.
So, this book is really just the idea that our kids probably view us way differently than how we feel. And so that's kind of the general idea of it is, at the end of the day, after all our mishaps or things we mess up with in life, our kids probably view those in such a way. So, like, for example, in the book, there's a couple illustrations where I draw, a dad's just opening a jar of pickles, and you're just like, yeah, this, you struggle with it for a little bit, and then it pops open, but your kid is probably looking at you like, holy cow, he is the strongest man alive. And so it's just those ideas where like, okay, I just opened a jar of pickles, but your kid thinks you are the greatest, and I just felt like, it was an important message for me as a parent to kind of understand, like, yeah, I probably don't have a lot of this figured out. I'm not doing the best job, but at the end of the day, I need to know that my kid views me in a certain way, and to, try to live up to that as much as I can.
No, that's a good perspective. Has that changed at all? Because I know you've got little older kids in mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my kids are older now. They're 13 and 15. But so, yeah, so that view, it's funny you say that. That view is kind of like, dad's more nerdy and got dad jokes now, other than being a superhero. But I think at the end of the day, they still have this view of you as a parent. It may be different than a superhero, but it's still a higher view of what you probably think you're doing. So.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's what I think about my boys 3 and 5, and I do think that I am one of the biggest people in their life, and they like view me that way, and I love it right now. But I like think about them getting older and me being like, oh man, I'm no longer a cool guy anymore. I think it's gonna
Right.
happen at some point.
It does, for sure.
But I think it's what you do in those foundations, and that's what I loved about reading the book, because it is setting those foundations at that age. So, how long did it take you to create the book? When did you start this idea?
Oh man, yeah, that's the funny part, and that's really probably a lot of this creative process that I kind of want to touch on. But the actual idea I had and was like, okay, I'm going to do this for years. I mean, I'm talking years. And for those who haven't seen the book, this is not an extensive. It is like 20 something pages. It's like words, drawing, words, drawing. It is not something super difficult, so it shouldn't have taken that long. But it was a real cool learning process, even over those few years. And we'll talk about some hurdles later, but just learning what those are and how to overcome them, and at the end of the day, just be able to do it. So I was able to, one of the biggest things I've kind of learned or gained value in is the idea of just collaborating. And so Chris Howard is a good friend of mine, and he helped me write it. He's actually a super talented writer, and I knew he was better at that than I was. And so I just approached him with the idea and said, hey, here's the general idea I have. And he loved the idea. And so we were able to kind of go back and forth and collaborate and be able to write something together. And so, that was a big deal for me, because, I think a lot of times we have these ideas, whether it's something creative or maybe even in corporate world, you have an idea and you hang on to it so much that because it's yours and you don't want anybody else to take it. When in fact, it could be something way better than that you're thinking when you collaborate and let other people speak into that idea. And so I'm super glad I did. Chris was an encourager, and he helped kind of keep me accountable to like, hey, how those drawings going and things like that. And so he definitely was a big part of this book too. So.
Well, expound on that for a second. I'm sure there are other things that you haven't done or have based off that same philosophy, right?
It's crazy. Yeah. So I'm a perfectionist. And so that is a good and bad thing, obviously, right? And so, again, we'll talk about hurdles more, but, I think like Chris was, again, just an encourager. So to kind of push me, but like, keep baseball great stuff we talked about earlier. Again, I've had that idea for years, and I would even, when I say launch, I said launch it. It's out there, but I don't tell anybody about it because like, I'm like, it's not that great, or it's not where I want it yet. And so, there's tons of projects, and a lot of them have to do with, probably my own personal projects, because I think everything has to be perfect before I tell anyone about it. But even working on, design stuff for clients and things like that, it is still a hurdle just to try to, get past that first step and then actually push something out. So.
No, you're right. That I run into that all the time. I know my wife's the perfectionist from the Enneagram 1. So if you're Enneagram 1, like I'm sure you're in that boat. But I've noticed time over time, it's just I think way more strongly about it than anyone else would. And yeah, man, there's a number of things I haven't done or have failed or lost probably opportunities that due to that. So I know people can relate that are watching this right now. They've got ideas on something. It may not be a book, but it's something, right?
Yeah. And like you said at the beginning, like we're in such a unique time where we've kind of been allotted some free time, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so now it's just kind of an ideal time just to do something. If you had an idea, just to kind of, take a step and launch it, or take the first step in whatever the process is of the project.
Yeah. Lori's commenting, how do we get a copy? Well, great question, Lori, because she's just ready to buy it
Lori.
now. There's a link in the description, on the description of this video. So if you click that link, livingstonebook.com, right, Drew?
.co.
.co, my bad. Don't mess that up. I know, my bad.
Or just go straight to Amazon.
That's the fear of anyone with .co, but that's...
I
know. Yeah, Amazon... you obviously search it in there, but yes, you can go to the landing page that he has on his site, livingstonebook.co. Get that right. So there you go, Lori. Thank you. Awesome. She's like, I'm done with the live stream. Now I'm just gonna get the book. So, so how long? So tell me, did you actually say how long it was? Like, how many years was it?
Yeah, I don't know if I even remember. That's how long it took, but it was probably. Because honestly, I think my 13-year-old was under 10, so 4 to 5 years from idea to pushing it on Amazon.
Well, here's my question about that. Then I know because you already alluded to. I want to ask about the hurdles to get to this point. But is it too late that you waited 4 or 5 years? Like, is it too late?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that's the beauty is nobody knows how long it took.
Right.
So it's never too late. It's never too late to finish something out. I think as far as the creative process goes, I get so excited about these ideas just because I love creating, and I'm like, man, it would be cool if we did this and that. And so the thought of pushing it out and letting other people see it is a win for me. And so, whether it takes 4 or 5 years, or if I just do something in a couple of weeks and push it out, I love the idea of just creating and getting it out there. So
no, it's good.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the hurdles, man. Let's go back. Like, what were the hurdles of getting this thing going?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously if you're in, and I think this really applies, not even just creative. I think think there's probably a line where people say, well, I'm not creative. And as a side note, I believe everybody's creative, just in different ways. But, just as far as the hurdles, man, being a perfectionist was a big one. So just thinking it's not good enough or it's not quite ready would just keep pushing it back. And I think, and I talked to you about this this week, is just about, I think my biggest kind of step towards finishing it is probably I just needed to stop caring so much. And that's not about stop caring so much about the quality of the book, but more about stop caring about what other people think, or stop caring if it's better than so-and-so's book. And so I think people get hung up on that a ton. And again, this is not just creative or design stuff. It's, if you're doing a sales funnel, you can get hung up on emails, or, my website's not the greatest. But so, just kind of getting over those hurdles of not caring so much about what other people around you think, but actually caring about you completing a goal that you kind of put forth. So those are kind of big ones. Obviously, fear is always going to be a big one for people, and that kind of ties into, what do people think, and what do people think of me if I live in the suburbs of a well-known, neighborhood, and they're all going to their corporate, jobs. And I'm sitting there like, well, I just drew a book. I don't know, so you're like, well, what are they going to think about me? But, at the end of the day, like I'm doing what I feel like God's kind of put in me to do. And so that's where I need to find my satisfaction and my joy in knowing that I'm fulfilling something God put in me as far as creating and designing and things like that. So
No, that's really good. And you actually touched on, you got me really passionate for a second, because I almost wanted to jump out and say something, because when you say everyone is creative, I 100% agree. And I don't know if we've necessarily talked about it a lot ourselves, but
yeah,
even if you're an accountant, you are absolutely creative, because you're creating something. And I believe the creator of our world to put us on this earth to create. And you don't have to be, there's a difference between an artist and being a creative. And that to me is the separation of like, oh, well, it's just painters and designers. And it's like, no, it's like an artist.
yeah,
Creative to me is something that's part of everyone. Like if you can put numbers together, going back to that accounting thing, if you got a way with your mind to like that, you're creative in that, and you should enjoy that,
yeah,
because that's how you've been created to be, and then you've been molded that way, right? So, anyways,
yeah,
that's my
yeah.
soapbox.
No, I love that. In fact, I actually had another kind of kids book idea based around that. So now that I put it out there, I got to do it.
I'm about to say, you write the next one now, bro. Like you got 2 weeks. I'm just kidding.
2 weeks. Here we go. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You're a perfectionist. I can't.
Yeah. Okay, so hey, if y'all have any questions or comments for Drew, please drop them in. We'll ask them. But Drew, do you have any examples? Like, give me a real life example of in the process of this book where you woke up one morning and you're like, forget this, or you deleted all the files, or you. Give me an example.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, some advice that I would probably give, and I guess anyone working on any kind of project, is there's a certain period of time for research and seeing what other people are doing, seeing other styles, and I think there has to be a window for that. And I think for me, what happened is, I would kind of get some inspiration, and I'd kind of do my own thing. And then as I'm going, I go back to some of those well-known, like they've been doing this their whole life, artists, and I'm looking at their books. I'm like, okay, erase all that. I got to try again. When in reality, this is good for where I'm at currently right now. So if I would have, asked those artists, hey, send me an illustration of a kid's book you did when you're, first couple tries. I'm sure that there would be some comparisons in terms of the ability that I have to do it now and how they do it. But they've just been consistently outputting that type of design and art on a consistent basis, which makes you better, right?
No, it's true.
So that for me, going back and comparing my stuff to other people's stuff was a big hindrance, because I'm super competitive. So if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best at it, and that's drive sometimes, but it holds me back too, because just because what I'm doing and the level of that doesn't speak to whoever is going to read it or see it, or do whatever with it. So you just gotta ship it, launch it, do whatever the current phrase is for doing projects is, but just push it out there and just
Whatever that current phrase is, yeah.
yeah.
We don't keep up with it. So tell me, okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What are some other projects that you're wanting to start or you haven't started, or hurdles you've faced for other things?
Man, yeah. So that's a good one. I mean, like I said, so I'll back up a little bit about this book. This book is actually secret is actually a kid's book for adults.
What?
Yeah, mind blown. So I am a simple person. I need the high level cliff notes, and I get it. But if you explain 30 minutes of whatever the one sentence could have, I'm the one sentence guy. So this book to me was like, man, I know oftentimes you're sitting down on the couch or at the bed and it's story time. Who's the one reading the book? The parents are, probably, right?
Right.
So,
I know
you
I
know,
am.
yeah. So, this book is really, I think the kids are going to love it, enjoy it, because it has a superhero aspect to it and some fun drawings. And, but really at the end of the book, I'm really hoping that the parents are like, okay, that was a great message for me, to walk away with. And so with that idea, kind of going back to your question, I would love to try to come out with a few more of these that, kind of create a new category in the kids book area of kids books for adults. Because a lot of times we just, when you got kids, young kids, you don't have time to sit down and read a huge book, self-help or whatever. But if you can read a book that takes 10 minutes and shares an inspirational kind of book for you, then awesome.
No, that's good. Yeah. That when we read it, so I sit down with my boys and we do that where they've got their two beds next to each other in the room, and there's this gap in the middle, and we sit down on the floor in between their beds and read a book at night. And we read your book, and I thought the same thing. Like, of course, now hearing it from you, that makes way more sense. But like, I'm like reading it, and I'm like getting to the end of it, and it's making me think about how I present myself to my kids. And it's a really simple read, right? It's a very, basic, simple read, but it's got great illustrations, and of course it's great too for our boys to be able to read it that way, with their ages. But I finished the book, and the 5-year-old Owen turns and looks at me and he goes, "Oh, that's you." And like it almost like didn't click till the very end for him. And of course, the 3-year-old, he was just like superhero, like he just like he didn't. I don't know that he got it at all, but just fine. He enjoyed the book himself, but yeah, I would say that's totally relatable in a sense to where, yes, you're reading something for your boys to enjoy, and they enjoyed it, but it made me think about where I was as a dad in their lives, about how I'm presenting myself to them, and really thinking about this whole perspective of like they're going to grow up so fast, and what am I doing today to set them up with how I'm showing how I live my life, right?
Yeah, for sure. And as you're talking, I'm like, man, that probably even applies to what we had just been talking about in terms of me as a designer, and what, I'm probably thinking these people think I'm terrible designer. They probably think these illustrations in the book are bad. But when in reality, the story that you just tell, really communicates to me and tells me like, hey, I am capable. I can do this, and I can make a difference with my art or my design or my project. So, the lesson is universal. Hopefully, people will kind of grab onto that and just, apply it to where they're at in their life.
No, that's cool. So this project, this book, how would you measure success on something like this?
Yeah. So, I
$1
mean,
million, right?
a million, yeah. Order now, yeah. Yeah. So for me, again, kind of going back to the process of how long it took. I think I changed the goal to just to finish it. And
Get it
so
out there.
I'm successful in that. But I think, I kind of, when you asked me that, I kind of thought back through even a lot of different projects that I'm working on. I tend to think about, okay, what's the big end goal that I want? And so when I was writing this book, it was, yeah, I want to finish the book and I want to launch it on Amazon. It wasn't a big, I want to make a certain amount of money or anything like that, but it was a big goal of finishing and launching on Amazon. Um, Now, again, another hurdle, going back to the hurdles, as I'm walking through the process, I have a blank page in front of me for the very first illustration part of it. And I'm thinking about this big end goal of finish and get on Amazon. And I can't get past this blank page. And so I think a big lesson that I learned was, okay, let's label that big end goal, but let's kind of break down some milestones or smaller goals that I can accomplish, and that way, I don't feel as overwhelmed. I don't feel like I want to quit because I'll never get there. But if my first goal is, yeah, let's just do a page of sketches, well, I can do that, and that's one step. And so that's probably, again, a big lesson I learned was just, break down the goals, and those goals will start to define what your success is. So yeah, it's not necessarily going to be a money thing or how many books I sold. It's just more about, for me, again, going back to just loving to create. It was finishing the book and being able to create something for other people. And so I feel like, I'm super pumped that I'm even doing this interview with you, because it's just a win for me. It's a success marker for me of knowing that I finished it and able to talk about it. So
That's cool. I
yeah.
love that. Um, Again, guys, if you have any, Candace McWaters, thanks for jumping on. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask Drew, as we're kind of getting to the end here, so that's why we do this live, to be able to also allow you to ask questions in the midst of this. But one thing I love when I hear this is that so many people are going to relate to the idea of fear because of something that they came up with themselves, right?
Right.
I would say most of us do dream, and everyone dreams about something. And being creative, we talked about that. So like everyone's creative to their own degree, whatever that ends up being.
Right.
But everyone lives in some sort of fear and having to overcome getting it out there, right? Like one of the biggest principles
Absolutely.
I have taken away from some people is like, just put it out there.
Yep.
And if the
Yep.
world doesn't like it, you'll find out.
Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
tweak it and change it. It's not going to,
Right.
what's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. To kind of piggyback on that, I think whenever I'm designing or creating something, I think we'll push the send button, that it is the concrete final, like there's no changing it, there's no adjusting it, like that's what it's going to be. When in reality, it is. It's stuff that you can tweak and change and make better as you go. So, but you'll never get to that point if you don't hit the first send button. So,
that's right. I literally talked to someone else on the team today. It was like, when we miss something or mess up, one of my favorite scenes, I should have loaded, that'd been funny like to have it, but one of my favorite scenes from a movie called Meet the Robinsons, an animated movie, is he's trying to get this invention piece out, and he's going to show the family. He's finally got to the point where he's going to show them, and it messes up and things explode, and he's in front of this whole new family, and he's like, oh, he's so bummed. You can tell he just like destroyed inside. And then they go, yay, you failed, and like you did it, and they're like, man, if I never failed in my, it's like they just kind of go through this whole rama,
yeah.
and I'm just like, man, it's so true. Like if we don't put it out there and learn from what we've done, or then you'll never grow. And that to me is what I love about hearing your process for a kid's book, a children's book. And it's like, Yeah, I think the book's great, and I think you should go buy it. But beyond that, like, it took you this whole, things people never understand. It took you all this to get out to come out with it.
Yeah,
And people are like, "Oh man, he's such a great designer. He threw that thing together in a few months. It was awesome." It's like, no, this thing took years due to internal things that held you back,
100%.
right?
Yeah. That's so true. And I think we talked about this. You mentioned a movie. It reminded me. I watched Yes Man recently with Jim Carrey,
Yes.
and and going back to your life motto, this character went through life just saying no. He was kind of cool with where he's at. He's kind of saying no to everything. He didn't want to connect or go out or do anything outside of what he does every day. And he's obviously convinced to say yes, just to start saying yes. And he says yes to one thing when that yes to whatever that thing was ended up not being good, but it ended up leading to something that was really good. And so it's kind of the same thing. If you just meeting people could lead to a big change in your life or their life. And it's the same way with projects. It's, you don't know where you're going to be led if you don't take any steps forward. So that's a great lesson that I'm trying to hold on to now, but I love. So
No, that's good. I feel like that's a really great closing to this piece. Is like that right there. You don't know where you're going to, you just take that step forward. And Ian Roberts commented, "It's such a great book. You got some readers out there that's already got the book in hand.
Got some fans.
Thanks, got your fans, yeah." That's awesome. So again, guys, the book, A Superhero Tucks Me In at Night. Let's see if I can show you the cover because Drew designed it and it's awesome. A Superhero Tucks Me In at Night. It's really great. I've already read it a few times with my boys. We've actually got a couple of the books. And so let's see if I can hear. I think this is fun. Oh, it's in between us. So it's, nope, other way. It's right there. Yeah, that's right. That's it, right there.
Oh.
No, yeah, you're right.
I will say, I'll give a couple examples of the illustrations in there that kind of give people an idea of what it is. It's, if for me, if I'm out putting Christmas lights up on the house and I end up falling off the ladder, but my kid is watching me through the window and he just sees me flying through the air. And so he thinks I'm flying. And so, he views that as me as a superhero. Or one of my favorite ones in the book is this, he's in the laundry room and he pulls out red underwear and he's like, this is proof he's got red underwear, right? So just fun things like that I hope people laugh, but also kind of get a good idea of how their kids view them and the love they have for you. So
no, that's awesome. And Ian, thanks for dropping the link from Amazon on there. We've got a link in the description if you want to check out the landing page where Drew's put it on his website, but also you can just grab it on Amazon. That's where we got ours. And I'll be hitting up the winner, Kelly, later for her free book because she was on there early. Anyways, so man, that's great. So definitely go check it out. Get the book. I'm pumping it big. Grab the book. It's not a high expense, even during Rona. Go get the book. It'll be worth it. And yeah, anything else you want to share, Drew?
No, man, I love it. I think, like I said before, I love creating, but I also, just as much as me creating, I love seeing other people create and do their own thing. And so that's kind of my big push is like, hey, if you have the time now, if you have an idea, if you think you're not creative, just put it out there, just take a step and create it because the world needs some fun, creative ideas out there. So.
No, that's good. Yeah, we're missing out because you're not doing it, right? We're missing out already because you're not doing what you thought of. Oh, that's so good. Well, thanks, Drew. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Of course.
Again, guys, every Thursday, 3 p.m. Central Time, we're jumping on live and we're interviewing great people that are doing great things, and we try to help you in your life and business. Next week, we're bringing on Katie Fuller. Who's that? Well, you have to find out, and we're going to send emails and info about it next week. Next Thursday, 3 p.m. And if you want to catch us, say you're catching this later or you're on right now, we're on YouTube every time after as well. So you can hit subscribe on this video on the YouTube channel and make sure that you're getting the new latest videos when they come out. But yeah, next week we'll see you then, and stay creative, my friends, because the world needs what you have, right? So I love that, man. Drew, we always close out with dancing, so you ready to close dance?
I'm more than ready.
Oh, bro, I can't wait. Let's see how this goes.
Crank it.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is.
Dance every day.
Oh, let's see if I can switch over. I can't even switch over.